What's up guys, Perry here, and we are back with another Anime Defenders video. And in today's video, if you couldn't tell from the title, we are doing an Update 5 tier list. Pretend that says 5. Hold on. Let's change that real quick. There we go. Update 5 tier list. And we are going to be ranking why are my units gone. Hold on, I'm gonna fix it. Alright, sorry about that. I had to add in my units from the Update 5, otherwise there would be no point in this tier list. But as I was saying, this is gonna be my Update 5 unit tier list. I've taken some time to watch showcases on all of the new evolved units. I've seen all their max upgrades, their damage, their stats, all that stuff. So with that newfound knowledge, we can make our Update 5 unit tier list. So S tier is going to be meta, must have units, best of the best. A tier is going to be very good. You know, A tier units are extremely good in most cases. B tier, decent units. C tier, mid units. And D tier is just ass, you know, garbage. Stuff you don't want to be using. And we're going to add a tier right below 8. Whoops, hold on. Whoops. Let's fix that. What I was trying to do is insert row above. Right there. We're going to add a meta support tier. And we're also going to add a normal support tier right below this one. Put it right here. Support. Put that below there. This is good. Okay. So we have our categories here. Meta support, obviously, you want these. Normal support, you also want these, but it's not as urgent as meta support. With all that being said, let's start with our very first unit, the Pro Gamer. And this is another easy S tier. Well, this is our first easy S tier. How do I say it? Sung Jin Woo, or the Pro Gamer, is a unit that has truly stood the test of time, because this guy has been an Update 0 unit. He's been out since the genesis of this game. When the game first dropped, and there were no updates, no new units, no nothing, he's been there. He's been through all of it. And every single time, every single update, this dude has been one of the best picks regardless of what you're doing. And here's why. Number one, he has 2 full AoE upgrades, one of which is multi-hit with mutilation. He is relatively cheap to place, coming in at like 2.5k or 2.25k, I forgot the exact amount, but still he's incredibly good. And he has his summoning ability. Every single time he kills a unit, that unit is then respawned as a minion for him. And that is honestly just such a huge convenience in literally every single game mode. He's good for infinite modes, he's good for story modes, he's good for challenges, he's good for Hall of Mirrors, he's good for infinite runs, and that's a little iffy because there are better picks than him for infinites, so that's debatable. But what I'm trying to say is, this dude is amazing regardless of what game mode you're in. He's obviously going to be a meta unit. He's especially good in this new update with the burrow units because he classifies as a ground unit, but he can also hit airs with his summons. So he's really one of the only true units that can actually kill anything in this game. Regardless of the situation, this guy can handle it. And if you have Almighty, it just makes him that much better. But you don't even need Almighty for this guy to be good. I have Precision on mine, and he carries me through literally everything. This guy, one of the best secrets in the game. Highly recommend that you get this guy if you have the chance. What else do I want to say about him? Honestly, like, his place in S tier, it's not even debatable. Like, anyone's gonna agree that he's one of the best units in the game. If you don't have him, try and get him. He's a standard banner unit, so he's in here permanently. I don't see him falling off the meta anytime soon. So, again, he is easy S tier. Absolutely meta. Next up, we have the Demon Overlord. Now, this guy's gonna go in meta support, because he deals decent damage, but his legendary, his secret ability is the fact that he buffs all your bleed and burn units by 50%. Some people told me that it's only bleed. Regardless, he's meta support. Being able to buff your damage over time by 50% on any unit in his radius is incredibly good. And if he didn't have that, he'd be pretty mid because he's ground and doesn't do crazy damage for a secret, but as it stands right now, he is incredibly good for support. Absolute meta support unit. Not the most like must-have support unit in the game, but I'd still put him in meta support because that's what he's good for. I believe he's either 3 or 4 placement. And he's also really easy to get. He's like the easiest secret to get from the portals, so he'd probably be a good starter secret to obtain. Let's move on to Ant King. Now, guys, Ant King is... He's not that good, guys. I think he might be getting D tier. And here's why. Ant King, unlocked, is a very old unit. He's extremely outdated. Even when he first came out, he wasn't the best. He was like okay, in update 0, this dude might have been like B tier, right? That's like the highest. Maybe there's a case for him to be in A tier if you're like we're really pushing it, but usually this dude would have been in B tier if this was update 0. Now that we're in update 5, he has just gotten worse and worse, and now he's just kind of garbage. I mean, honestly, maybe he doesn't deserve... Like, you can put him in C tier. There's a case to be made for putting him in C tier. I'll leave him in C tier for this video, but he's just not good. You know, he does lackluster damage. His SPA isn't that good. He's ground only, which after this update isn't the worst thing in the world, especially with burrow units. But if you're gonna get a ground unit, there are way better options than him. And you know, his attacks are decent, I guess. He has some multi-hit attacks. He has some big circle AoE attacks, but his damage is just not there. Nor is his cost. He's pretty expensive to max, all things considered. So really, economy-wise, he's really not all that. Next up, we have Sage something, one of the new secrets. This guy's not bad. I saw a showcase on him, and let me double check before I continue talking about him. Hold on. Alright guys, scratch that, because the showcase that I saw got like deleted or something, and there's literally no showcases of this guy, so any information that I could have gotten on him is fucking wiped off the face of the earth. But from what I do remember, and you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong because my memory is a little bit hazy on the video, this guy is ground only, and he's a secret. He does decent damage. I don't think he has any super cool special ability though, at least from what I could observe. So I'm gonna put him in A tier because although he's a pretty good ground unit, I don't see him competing with the things that we have in S tier. But I can't put him below A tier. Not only is he a secret, he's one of the new secrets, so I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he's really good one way or another. I'm gonna leave him in A tier. I don't even know what anime this guy is supposed to be from. This guy he kind of looks like Hermes from Greek mythology. That's what he's giving me like vibes of. But at the same time, I don't think I can recognize this dude from any anime. Albeit, nowadays, can you recognize any of these guys from an anime? Not really. So, I don't have too much to say about this guy. Good damage. He's a secret, so obviously he's going to be doing good damage. He's ground only, and that's about it, to be honest. I don't know if there's anything noteworthy I can say about him yet. Maybe in the comments you guys can tell me if he has something good. But as of right now, he's kind of mid. Well, not mid, he's good, but in my mind, there's nothing special or extremely strong about him to boost him to S tier, so he's just gonna get A tier. Unstable Esper, D. Absolute garbage. Don't get this guy. Don't waste your evil materials on this guy. Don't even look at him. Don't summon for him. Forget he exists. The only good thing about him is his shiny cosmetic. He has a really cool shiny cosmetic, but in terms of an actual, like, you know, a use case for him, he's not good. First of all, this guy is a ground unit. Why? Why did they, like, bro, this is supposed to be Mob from Mob Psycho 100. Why are you a ground unit? You should be a hybrid. If memory serves, he's a ground unit. He's not good. Lackluster damage, too expensive for the amount of DPS output that he gives you. Historically, has been one of the worst units in the game, and that hasn't changed anytime soon. Something that I would really love to see from this game is buffs to old units, and just rebalancing of the game in general, because as it stands, the power creep in this game isn't super bad, but there are just some old units that are completely useless, and it would be nice for mythic units to actually feel like they have some relevance in this game. Because I think right now, the game is so reliant on having secret units or having good traits that mythic units kind of feel like an afterthought. And although some of them look really cool, and some of them are decent, all of them pale in comparison to the average secret. Especially in this new Athenex Realm update where the content is relatively hard, in fact it is pretty hard. If you don't have secret units, you're just going to find yourself struggling a lot more. I would love to see some buffs to these old characters, maybe rework them in some way, shape, or form, I don't know. Anyways, Cursed Knight, aka Igris, one of the best units in the game, another easy S tier. Now let me tell you guys why I'm going to give him S tier. Number one, well, he's hybrid, which already makes him incredibly versatile. Now, being a hybrid unit actually isn't necessarily best case scenario anymore, because in the new Athenex Realm update, you have burrow units. These units cannot be hit by hybrid units. Like, you have burrow enemies that can't be hit by hybrid units, that's what I'm trying to say. So, being a hybrid doesn't just let you steamroll the game anymore. This guy got buffed, he used to be ground only, now he's hybrid, but now that buff isn't even that much of a... I mean, it still is a buff, I'm going to be honest with you guys. More often than not, you want a hybrid unit more than you want a ground unit, because although the Athenex Realm does have burrow units, it also has flying enemies. So having this guy not only serves as meta support because he applies fear on every single time he hits an enemy, but he also does really good damage, he has good multi-hit attacks, he's hybrid, good range. What else? His max level ability is a really strong nuke. Honestly, he's just good in all aspects of the game. He's good in every single game mode. He's full AoE once you max him out, full AoE multi-hit. Really not anything bad I can say about this guy. Easily one of the best units in the game. Also one of the most expensive units in the game. He costs like upwards of 10 million gems to trade for, and that's on the low end. Usually people are going to be charging well over 10 million, but yeah, would I tell you get him if you have the chance? Yeah, but realistically speaking, if you didn't get him when he came out back in update 1 or 2, I forgot how long ago it was, but yeah, if you didn't get him back then, chances are you're not going to get him now because he is incredibly expensive. Still, he's an easy A tier. I'd be dumb not to put him in A tier. Do I think he's above Sung Jin Woo? Probably. I'm gonna be honest. Dude is probably above Sung Jin Woo. Yeah. I'm gonna put him above Sung Jin Woo mainly because of his fear ability that lets your entire team do more damage, on top of the fact that he has a nuke ability that does tons of damage, and he also just has more range than Sung Jin Woo, and his final upgrade is full AoE, whereas the pro gamer's final upgrade is a line AoE, which is just, ugh. Man, I don't even want to think about that. But yeah, easy S tier. Let's move on. Crimson Demon Ninja. This guy is also going in A tier. Just a very solid meta burn unit. He does multi-hit when you max him out. He's pretty cheap to place. I believe he's 3 placement. Just overall a very decent mythic unit. I've used this guy to solo the Nightmare mode on Hall of Mirrors. He will definitely serve you well in endgame content. Not much else to be said about him. I do recommend summoning for him or Natsu. Some people like Natsu better. To me, they're both interchangeable. They're like practically the same unit. They both serve the same purpose. But yeah, Crimson Demon Ninja, A tier, very good. I absolutely recommend you get him if you're a new player. Actually, is he still obtainable? He's still obtainable, right? Yeah, he's still obtainable. Next up, Dragon Wizard. I'm gonna put him above Igris and above Sung Jin Woo. This guy is pretty goated. He is one of the, if not the highest damage unit in the game. Also the most expensive, coming in at 5k, but once you get a little bit more situated into the game and you have your like cheap units that you can deal with early game for, and you have your farm units, 5k is honestly not even that bad. Like, you can reliably use this guy in any mode as long as you know what you're doing and you have some early game units to deal with the enemies in the earlier rounds. He's incredibly good. He does, I believe he has a full AoE upgrade once you max him out, but he really shines in his damage output. He has like over 100,000 damage once you max him out. He does burn damage. Like, one of the best units in the game. Meta for leaderboard runs. Like, I think he's a must-have for leaderboard runs. Meta for Tower of Eternity too. People use them to get on leaderboard in Tower of Eternity. Just from everything that I've observed about Dragon Wizard, I know without a shadow of a doubt that he's one of the best units in the game. And I'm going to put him above Igris and the Pro Gamer because he's incredibly strong. He is a free-to-play secret, meaning he's very, very easy to him. Well, it's going to take a lot of grinding to get him, but you will get him eventually. He's a lot easier to get than Igris, I'll tell you that much. And still, he's a hybrid, super versatile, great damage, great DPS, one of the best late game units. Again, he deserves S tier. Next up, we have Monster Sorcerer. Now, this dude is going to get B tier. He's not a crazy unit. He's ground. He does okay damage once you max him out. I believe it's like 26k. And he's 3 to 4 placement. I believe he's 3 placement. Correct me if I'm wrong. But still, he's pretty run-of-the-mill, average. Nothing crazy about him. He doesn't have like a cool ability or something. He's only a mythic, to be fair. The devs usually put more of that cool, unique ability effort into the secrets. So this dude deserves B tier. He's not C tier because he doesn't suck. He's not garbage. He's not mid. He still will do pretty decent damage for a mythic unit, all things considered. So we'll give him B tier. He deserves B tier. Next up, Shadow Conjurer. Now, I believe this guy... Yeah, this guy's ground. Actually, wait, which one of the mythics... Okay, this guy's hill, and these guys are both ground. He does burn damage, and he's like 3 placement, 3 or 4 placement. I'm gonna put him in A tier. I saw a showcase on him. He does decent damage, but he's ground only, so I'd be tempted to put him in B tier. But he does good damage, like pretty decent damage, and you know, burn damage also helps. Multi-hit when you max him out is also pretty good. The fact that he's ground only, although it is a little bit unfortunate, not a deal breaker since, you know, you kind of need ground units for the new update. This update really like boosted up the usefulness of ground units. Like before update 5, ground units were literally just inferior to hill and hybrid units, but now there's like a genuine use case for them, which is pretty nice. I'm debating whether like he's either low A tier or high B tier because like I've seen the showcases of him and he's not like crazy. On top of that, he's also pretty annoying to obtain. He's one of the new banner units, meaning you have to use the new currencies to obtain them, and it is pretty annoying to get the new currencies, especially if you're not already well situated in the game and you don't have like almighty secrets to macro overnight with to get a bunch of the new tokens. So the barrier to get him is definitely there. There is definitely a pretty high barrier to unlock this guy if you're not lucky. So he's gonna be low A tier, if you ask me. Next up, Legion Captain, S tier. That is a easy S tier. She's a hill unit. She has insane range. She has a special ability, which is like a huge Sero from Bleach type thing. She just like fires a bunch of beams everywhere, and it has a huge radius, and it deals a ton of damage. I believe she's a summoner. She is a summoner too. She spawns in little like soldier minions, and they start running across the map. And they shoot at the enemies, which is pretty cool. That's really, really unique. What else do I want to say about her? Insane range, great SPA, great damage. Her damage isn't exactly secret level. I believe it's a little bit under that. But it's like, it's a middle ground. Because she's way better than the average mythic. But she's a lot worse than the average secret. So she's kind of like in that little in-between spot. Still, that in-between spot is more than good enough to land her in S tier. She's not as good as Sun Jin-woo or the other characters on this list, but she deserves S tier. I think she's a great unit. And I think Almighty is a pretty good trait to have on her. I don't know. Next up, Muscular Sorcerer. This guy gets a B tier. I'll put him above Monster Sorcerer. He's full AoE. I believe he does bleed damage. I'm 50% sure he does. Don't quote me on that, but full AoE, pretty cheap to place, like in terms of cost effectiveness, like cost to DPS, pretty solid. You can place 3 or 4 of him. He's not obtainable anymore, which is a little unfortunate, but still, he does the job and he does it moderately well. So we're gonna give him B tier. Next up, we have Radiant King, Radiant something, one of the new secrets. This guy's S up. My Discord, not yours. Let me just quit Discord real quick so it doesn't bother us. This dude is supposed to be Gilgamesh from Fate. And what do I want to say about him? I watched the showcase on him, and the reason I'm going to give him S tier, number one, he's a hybrid. Number two, he does insanely good damage, like 40k or 50k, I believe, once you max him out. I don't know if he has a special ability from the showcase that I saw. He doesn't. So, But he is hybrid. He does have good damage, good range. No full AoE. His final attack is a big circle AoE, but go figure. You know, they didn't want to make everything full AoE. Even though most of the new units in this update were full AoE, this guy's like kind of the exception. I'm going to give him low S tier, or like maybe I'd put him above Legion Captain. For now, Radiant dude, Gilgamesh, gets above Legion Captain because he does out DPS her easily. Next up, we have Donut Master. I think I want to give this dude meta support. He's not obtainable anymore. This is supposed to be Katakuri. He was in a limited banner a while ago. He is a very, very solid support unit. He's also cheap. Only 1.3k to place. He applies slow on hit. He's multi-hit on placement. And he's hybrid. And you can place 2 or 3 of him. I think it's only 2. But yeah, one of the best support units in the game. He serves his purpose very, very well, which is to slow units. His damage is lackluster, but again, he's not going to be your main DPS source anyway. He's meta support. Next up, we have Chance King. Now, I think Chance King is going to go like top of A tier. I don't know if he's good enough to make it into S tier, but I will say this. With the introduction of burrow units, Chance King becomes a lot more viable than he used to be. Because now you actually have a reason to run him in your team. He's the only unit that's going to be able to hit the burrow enemies. And he does really good damage once you max him out. The thing about him is he's a secret with no gimmick. And I say this because his gimmick is that he does a lot of damage. But as time has gone on, he just gets outshined by so many other secrets. In fact, I think this secret's gimmick is also that he does a lot of damage, because I don't think there's anything unique about him. In fact, I don't think there's anything unique about this guy. Actually, he does burn damage, so that's cool, I guess, but burn damage isn't like a unique intrinsic thing for a secret to have. A bunch of units do burn damage. It's nothing special. And Chance King, although his main gimmick is that he's strong, you know, it's not like that gimmick is useless. Doing 58k, I think he does like 60k on max damage, multi-hit, final attack. Some of his attack patterns are also really, really good. Like on his 3rd upgrade, he unlocks this move called the Viridian Blitz. And it's kind of like the Shadow Dragon ability, like the Shadow Dragon, his first move, where it's a line AoE that does a bunch of hits. Really good shield breaker, great DPS option. The fact that he's ground only doesn't even subtract points from him anymore because he's useful in endgame content. So he's either high A tier or low S tier. But I'm going to give him high A tier for now. Next up, Proficient Sharpshooter. Let me think. She deserves B tier. Like, higher than Monster Sorcerer. Proficient Sharpshooter, she's an underrated unit. I'm going to be honest. I don't see that many people using her because, you know, albeit she's not the best unit in the game, her damage isn't the best, but where she shines is in her versatility. She has insane range, great multi-hit attacks. If you get critical or precision on her, she's going to be dealing out some pretty chunky damage. And she's a heal unit, so that means that she's going to be able to hit the air enemies. Being heal doesn't boost you as much as it used to since burrow units exist, or burrow enemies exist, but still, I believe she deserves B tier. There's no reason not to put her in B tier. She's good at what she does, although she's not the best in class. She's still very decent. Next up, we have Thunder God. Okay. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Thunder God is not good. This dude is D tier. Lackluster damage, ground only, pretty expensive for the amount of damage that you get. I will say his attacks look pretty cool, but that's only going to take you so far. D tier. Next up, Demon King Peak. This guy's another S tier. He slows. Can place 4 of him. He's hybrid. Decent damage. What else? I believe that's all I want to say about him, but just know that he's meta for sure. Not the best in the world. Obviously, we have some units that rank above him, but he's still pretty good. He's been out for a hot minute now, but he still remains in the S tier in my opinion. He deserves S tier. He hasn't gotten worse, so. Legion Veteran. I don't know. She's either meta support or she's normal support. Honestly, I'm going to put her in normal support because the buff that she gives isn't even that crazy. It's like 5% or 15% more crit damage, or like chance for crit damage. And that's like nothing extraordinary. It's not as good of a buff or debuff in this Donut Master's case. It's not as good as meta support, so I'm just going to put her in normal support. Let me think. Grand Jade Fire Knight. Okay. This guy is meta support, and honestly, this dude is one of the best support units in the game. I absolutely love this unit. He might be my favorite mythic in the game, and here's why. Number 1, this guy is multi-hit off placement. Multi-hit full AoE. You place this guy. Excuse me. You place this guy, and he's going to be doing like 4 to 5 hits in one attack, and he's full AoE. So if you put him like on a curve or like the corner of a map, he's just going to be hitting over and over and over again. If you get critical on this dude or precision, goated. And he's hybrid, so he can hit air units too. On top of that, he applies the fear or curse passive, whatever you want to call it. Basically makes all units take more damage after he hits them. So he's meta support, he's hybrid, he's a great shield breaker, and he's full AoE off placement. I don't know how much more meta support you can get. Now, his damage isn't anything crazy, but at the same time, he's meta support. That's not his role in the team anyway. We're going to give him easy meta support. Probably above these two guys, if I'm being honest, just in terms of pure versatility. Next up, we have the Rift Sorcerer Awakened, aka Gojo. Now, this guy, obviously he's getting S tier. I don't know if he deserves to be above Igris though. Yeah, I'll put him above Igris. Full AoE, slow unit, great damage. One of the best units in the game. One of the most expensive units in the game. And he's been out for a while. I don't know if you need to hear my reasoning as to why he's S tier, but insane damage, insane range, full AoE ability that does multi-hit, and it does insane damage as well. You know, it's just like, he just ticks all the boxes, and he's hybrid. The Bear King unlocked, this is gonna go, like, pretty high A tier. He's one of the best mythic units in the game, in my opinion. Meta bleed, full AoE, multi-hit, good DPS, 4 placement, pretty cheap to place and upgrade. Like, he just ticks all the boxes, similar to Gojo, except he's bleed, so it's on a much lesser scale. He does provide that bit of extra utility though, because bleed nullifies regen effects on the enemies, and he's 4 placement, hybrid just like Gojo, except a lot less damage. Still, I think he's A tier, very, very good unit. Ice Dragon Queen is going to go in meta support, probably above Katakuri. She is a slow unit. When she hits an enemy, she just completely freezes them, and she's pretty expensive, 2.5k to place, but her damage is actually not bad. She's full AoE once you max her out, multi-hit full AoE. Not much more to be said about her. She's just a good stall unit. Not the worst DPS unit. Very, very meta support. Next up, Solar Overlord. Now, where do I want to put this guy? Honestly, he's okay. He either gets high A tier or low B tier. Because here's my thing with this guy. Yes, he's hybrid. I believe he's hybrid. His main shtick, his main ability here is actually, let me research him a little bit. Hold on. Okay, so after a little bit more research, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Solar Overlord is kind of mid. In fact, he's hybrid, but his shtick is that he gets more damage as more time goes on. and he's only going to get the full extent of this buff in infinite mode. Literally in no other game mode is he going to get the full buff. And his damage, although he's a secret, it's good. It's sort of lackluster for being a portal secret. So, I think last tier list, I had him like top of A tier. That was a big mistake. I had him top of S tier. That was a pretty big oversight on my part. We're going to give him low S tier. Maybe above Demon King Peak, but still low S tier. And let's move on to Pink Demon Mage, meta support. Easy meta support. Probably the best farm unit in the game, and here's why. Her ability, where she like sucks the soul out of her enemies, you can use it over and over and over again. It has no like limit on it. Obviously it has a cooldown, but she's incredibly good for things like Hall of Mirrors, Tower of Eternity, Infinite Mode, Story Mode. Literally good in everything. Best farm unit in the game, and she doubles as meta support because she also slows down units as well as making you money. You can't go wrong with her, so that's why I'm giving her meta support. Grand Aether Knight, easy S tier. In fact, S tier, and I'm putting him like right below Sungjin Woo. Now, hear me out, guys. I know what you're gonna say. How the hell is a unit that, like, a secret that only does 22k damage on max gonna be better than all of these units? Well, I'll give you my opinion, and I'll let you guys tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments. This guy is single-handedly the most, if not one of the most versatile units in this game. 500 to place, meaning he's the cheapest secret in the game. You can place him as soon as you load into the map. He does 2k damage off placement, by the way, more than any mythic, which already makes him incredibly good. 2k damage off placement, really fast SPA, hybrid, extremely cheap, 5 placement unit. Like, if you have Requiem on this guy, you're goated. Like, you're gonna be chilling, because he's just incredibly, incredibly good. I think he shines not because he's the best endgame unit. You're not going to be taking this dude into your leaderboard infinite runs, but he is just so cheap and so versatile at what he does. You can take this dude into literally any game mode and he will carry you through early game. Assuming there's no burrow units, cough cough, but still, he is incredibly good, and I think people don't give him enough credit for how useful he is and how cost effective he is. In terms of cost effectiveness, you know, cost to DPS ratio, this guy is probably as good as it gets. So yeah, I'm giving him S tier. Also, actually, I'll do it at the end of the video, never mind. Let's move on. Prime Garp, aka Prime Commander, aka Prime Carp. This dude has gotten like 3 name changes and a model change, so you know, I don't even recognize this dude anymore. This is not Garp, bro. Anyways, C tier. The reason he's C tier, he does good damage, don't get me wrong, but he's also, like, he fell off so hard. Like, he has a 13.5 second SPA. That is just laughable. Although he does full AoE and he does decent damage, you know, he's multi-hit full AoE on max with 30k plus damage. He just gets outshined by so many other units. He fell off. Very unfortunate fall off. Next up, Flame Dragon God. I'll put him above Crimson Demon Ninja, but like I said, these guys are interchangeable for me. Meta burn, hybrid, 4 placement, cheap, decent DPS. Like, I can say that for him, and I can say that for Crimson Demon Ninja. Literally 2 sides of the same coin. I don't know what more I can say about him that I haven't said for this guy. He's A tier though. He's very good. Incredibly good free-to-play unit. This guy will carry you through a bunch of stuff. I think he's, like, if you just started the game, he's a must-have, honestly. Next up, we have Legion Assassin Master. Probably another support unit, if I'm being honest. Do I want to put him in meta support or normal support? Honestly, he gives your units like more range, I think, or more SPA. I'm just gonna put him in normal support because the buff that he gives, like, it's not game breaking, it's not crazy. He's there. His damage isn't amazing. He's ground only, and although his buff is useful, I don't think it's useful enough to put him in meta support because, you know, these like meta support units, these are support units that will like literally change the way you play the game. They're just that good. Well, I say that in the case of these two, maybe these three. But what I'm trying to say is, meta support, they aid your team and they aid them extremely well. Normal support is there, but they're not gonna you're not gonna notice them shine as much as you would a meta support unit, you know? Next up, Skull Paladin. Honestly, this guy was D tier in my last tier list. I'm gonna put him top of C tier. And here's why. He's ground, yes, that does kind of suck. Also, yes, his damage is a little lackluster, but he is full AoE off placement, and he's ground, meaning he can kill the new burrow enemies, and that's it. That's the only reason that he's going from D to C tier, because he's a full AoE ground unit, which makes him a little bit more useful at killing burrow enemies than the average ground unit. That's all I have to say for him. He's not like game breaking, you know. The fact that burrow enemies exist doesn't mean he's going to jump into S tier, but it's good enough to put him in C tier. Maybe like mid C tier, mid to high C tier. He went up a tier, so good for him. Next up, Bloomer, meta support. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, there's a case to be made for putting her in normal support, but every farm unit in this game deserves to be in meta support because it's a farm unit. Sure, she's the... Actually, nah, I'll put her in normal support. I'm gonna put her in normal support because she is one of the only farm units in the game, but she's also the worst one in the game. Like, in terms of just cost effectiveness and how long it's going to take you to get your money back after you upgrade her. She's good, so we'll put her at top of support, but the two other farm units are just outright better than her. There's like no debate about it, so yeah. Warrior Queen, B tier. B tier, like below or above, it's interchangeable here, I don't care, but she's B tier. Full AoE, 3 placement, okay damage. She's decent. She's not crazy. First fighter, support, top of support. Actually, no, I'll put him in support because there's a better fear passive unit that's in meta support. But this guy, he applies the little fear debuff, makes all your enemies take more damage from all sources, making him an incredibly good support unit. Not meta support because Grand Jade Fire Knight just does his job 10 times better, but you know, he's there. If you're a new player, I recommend you get him. He's only a legendary. He's not going to be hard to get. You might as well get him. Queen Swordmaster, mid, like sort of like above Ant King, I guess, but like it doesn't really matter where you put her. She's mid. She sucks. She's the leaderboard, not leaderboard. She's the battle pass unit in the first world. And there's nothing noteworthy to be said about her. Her damage is lackluster. I believe she's ground only, so mid. Lunar Empress. Now, in my last tier list video, I ranked her criminally low. I'd argue that she's above Grand Aether Knight. She's actually pretty good. Her ability is that she gets more damage the more units that she kills, and she does some really, really good damage. I used her, I've showcased her already. She surprised me. Like, she's expensive to use. I think she's like 4K off placement, so she's definitely a big investment, but she is a heavy hitter. She's a good boss killer. She is just good DPS in general. She's a portal unit, meaning she's pretty free to play friendly to obtain. You can't go wrong with her. Very, very much deserving of S tier. Next up, Chief of Ice, aka Akoji, support. Full AoE slow, but his damage sucks, and these guys just do his job way better. Shadow Dragon unlocked, probably above Gojo. This guy is one of the best units in the game. Amazing damage, hybrid, multi-hit off placement. He has an ability called Otherworldly Power. I believe that's what it's called. And it's just like a big buff. It makes your makes your units deal more damage. I think they get like more range and more SPA, don't quote me on that, but yeah. One of the best units in the game, easily. Also incredibly annoying to obtain. You can only get this guy from the exclusive wishes, and if you don't want to do that, you can also trade for him, but he costs over 10 million gems to get, so good luck with that. Pink Rockstar, meta support. Very, very meta support. In fact, I'd put her like above Demon Lord. Demon Lord is like the least meta support, but he's still good. Anyways, Pink Rockstar. She makes you money, and she's one of the only, if not I think the only unit in the game that gives you a flat damage buff at all. Like not at all times, but she gives you a pretty consistent flat damage buff of 20%. So, meta support. Gale Archer. This guy is a new unit in Update 5. He is Hill, and he's fully AoE on max. I guess he's like... he doesn't apply like anything. He doesn't like apply slow, I'm pretty sure, so... No special ability, but he is Hill. He is full AoE. He does have decent range. Put him like middle of A tier. Is he worth getting? Probably, but the thing is, this guy's incredibly annoying to get. He, like, I've already talked about this plenty of times in my past videos, and I already talked about it this video. Any unit from the 3 new banners in the Phoenix realm are pretty hard to get. Why? Because getting the new currency takes a lot of time. It's grindy. It's pretty annoying to get. And evolving these guys is also annoying to get because you need the new materials. It's just a whole ordeal. So he's getting A tier because he's not a bad unit by any stretch of the imagination, but his damage is honestly not that good. So I might put him like below Flame Dragon and Crimson Demon Ninja if I'm being honest. Next up, Slime Spirit Queen. Her damage is just not there. She doesn't even feel like a secret if I'm being honest with you guys. She's more of a collector's item because she's a leaderboard unit. We'll give her like bottom of B tier, I guess. She doesn't even qualify as a secret unit in my eyes. I guess she's better than Monster Sorcerer, but she's kind of mid. Not like C tier mid, but mid in terms of she's a secret that is lackluster. And Cursed Berserker Paladin, I believe this guy deserves S tier, probably above probably above Grand Jade Fire Knight. And the reason I say that is because he has an intrinsic like 30% crit ability. He does 30% more crit damage. He has multi-hit attacks. He does bleed. He does really, really good DPS for a ground unit. Ground units are incredibly useful against burrow enemies. So really, he's just a good all-arounder. The fact that he's not a hybrid isn't as detrimental because you can't use hybrids for everything in this new update. So he deserves S tier. Next up, Celestial Key Warrior. This is supposed to be Goku. He's ground? Yeah. This guy's ground only. Full AoE on max. Upgrade. He's okay. I'll put him above Flame Dragon God and Crimson Demon Ninja. Nothing too crazy. In fact, he might be below them. It's kind of ironic how all of these guys are next to each other, but there's like nothing too crazy or unique about them to make them stand out for me to put them like above any of these units here. Because there's a case to be made for every single one of the units above these guys to be above them. Chance King, he does more damage than all these guys. The new Sage Secret, he's a ground unit, but he just outright out DPSs all these guys. Bear King, more versatile, he has bleed, he has full AoE, which some of these guys don't have. Flame Dragon God and Demon Ninja are both meta burn, probably more DPS than all of these guys. Hybrid, cheaper than these guys. So the 3 new mythics from the Phoenix realm, don't get me wrong, they're low A tier, meaning they are very good, but there are just a lot of other mythics on this list that are just outright better and way easier to obtain, so, you know, keep that in mind. Curse Lord, now, this guy is probably also above these guys. Hybrid, meta bleed, pretty good DPS, good multi-hit attacks. If you get a crit or a precision trait on this guy, he's going to be dealing some pretty fat stacks of damage. I believe he deserves to be in... Not only does he deserve to be in A tier, he deserves to be above these guys, easily. Next up, Elf Hero, mid. In fact, I might even put her in garbage. I don't know. I'll put her, like, low C tier. She's got the same problem as Garp, in the sense that they're both strictly ground units, and they're full AoE, but they just fell off. You know, they were really good in Update 0, but 5 updates later, who would have guessed? They're not good anymore. Next up, Ice Mage, also support. Common unit, and he slows. That's about it. Water Grandmaster, also in B tier. He like barely makes it into B tier, because he's like a raid unit, but Bear King is a raid unit, and he's just 10 times better than this guy. This guy's ground only. I'm pretty sure he does multi-hit on his max upgrade. His DPS isn't anything to write home about, but it's there. So I might put him like above Monster Sorcerer, I guess. Last up is Poseidon. The new Poseidon secret. I think this guy is above Cursed Berserker Paladin. In fact, Might even be above Lunar Empress. He does full AoE when you max him out. Actually, I don't know if it's full AoE, but he has like a big AoE once you max him out. He does slow, so he's meta support. Good damage because he's a secret, obviously. But there's like nothing I can say about him that hasn't been said about another secret. So I'm gonna put him, like, he deserves S tier, but I don't know if he deserves top of S tier. But something I wanted to do, someone suggested this. I'm gonna add a row above this. We're gonna make it, okay, no. I want this to be like that. Yeah, that's good. And then for this one, we're gonna edit it, make it S tier. This is like top meta. I want to make this tier because we have a lot of S tier units. I just want you guys to be aware of like the best of the best. So what do I personally think is the best of the best? I'm gonna make Dragon Wizard, Shadow Dragon, Gojo, Igris. These are the best of the best. Actually, do any of these other units deserve to be in the SSS tier? Honestly, I don't think so. Maybe Sung Jin Woo. Okay, I'll add Sung Jin Woo in there. But other than that, this... Okay, let me reorder the tier list so they're all from worst to best. Let's do that real quick. Supports. What's the best support on this list? It's probably going to go Burst Fighter, Bloomer. Yeah, I like this. Actually, no. Put this guy all the way at the bottom. And this guy, because these guys give buffs and they just do more damage. So we'll put them like that. This order is good. This order doesn't matter because they both suck. They're interchangeable. But this guy goes above Thunder God because I like his cosmetic more. C tier. I think Skull Paladin is top of C tier because of his full AoE and he's cheap. Both of these guys have full AoE on max and they deal more damage. But alright guys, sorry about that. My mic cut off. But what was I saying? C tier. I'm gonna keep it like this. B tier. Top of B tier, I'm gonna give it to Slime Sphere Queen, I guess, just because she's a secret and she looks cool. But honestly, in terms of like raw usefulness, I might even give Proficient Sharpshooter top of B tier. That actually, nah, that's like a little bit too much. I think Muscular Sorcerer deserves top of B tier, and this is good. I like this order. A tier. Who is top of A tier? I like this order, to be honest. Like, I already ordered this the way that I liked it. Who is top of meta support? Okay. This one might be a little bit trickier. I think Pink Demon Mage is the best farm unit. Grand Jade Fire Knight is one of the best support units. Ice Dragon Queen, probably the best slow unit. Right behind Katakuri. I think Rockstar will be right there. Where do I want to put the Demon Overlord? Actually, I'll put him like right there. Yeah, this is pretty good for meta support. Now, who's top of S tier? I think Poseidon. Poseidon deserves either like Poseidon or Lunar Empress deserve to be top of S tier. Who deserves bottom of S tier though? Probably Legion Captain. Either Legion, actually not. Probably like Solar Overlord because he's mid. And then Demon King Peak Legion Captain. I like this order. Where do I want to put Gilgamesh? Because Gilgamesh is actually not that bad. I'll put him above Guts. I'll put Grand Jade Fire Knight above Guts. I really like this. Like, this is just my personal bias. Actually, no, I can't have personal bias. I need to keep this tier list as objective as possible because this is supposed to be who the best units are. It's not about who I like more. I honestly think Guts is better than Grand Jade Fire Knight. Just like raw DPS. He'll probably be better for endgame, especially in the new world where there are burrow enemies. But still, Grand Jade Fire Knight, incredibly good. These two units probably deserve to be above Guts. I'll give Lunar Empress top of S tier, just because of her damage ability, her DPS, and the fact that she's such a good boss killer, and she's hybrid. Who is top of SSS tier? Honestly, I think it's Dragon Wizard. He just does the most. Do I think this is the best unit in the game? Probably. If I'm being honest, this probably is the best unit in the game. Just in terms of raw damage, there really is no debating that. I think this is it. This is the tier list. This is the order that we're going to go with. Alright, so, yeah. This is my Update 5 tier list. If you guys disagree or think any of these units should be in different places, let me know in the comments. Keep in mind, I am not like all-knowing. You know, my opinion isn't final. These are just who I personally think are the best and worst units in the game ranked. I believe this tier list is pretty accurate though. I try to do as much research as I could before I put this out. And, you know, this looks pretty good to me. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you disagree with any of these placements. And give me your reasoning as to why, so other people could be better informed. So, with all that being said, that's going to wrap up my Update 5 tier list video. If you guys enjoyed the video, learned anything new, or liked hearing me talk about the game, feel free to like, sub, comment, all that wonderful, wonderful stuff. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and we'll catch you in the next one.